Good morning, Mr. Moshe. My name is Ansel again once more. We're here this Saturday. I understand we discussed so much about some other issues last time. I'm here today in order for you to explain to me the various environmental issues that have been bothering our community.
All right, thank you so much, Beatrice. Today, I just want to go over in this interview a few of the major environmental issues. We have the air pollution in Maryland. People don't know this. We have scrubbed a lot of the sulfur dioxide, which has really caused the acid rain. We've gone through all of the major plants, energy-producing plants, to install equipment that removes the sulfur dioxide. That's one of the major causes of acid rain, destroying plants, crops, our air. So that's the good news. The bad news is we still have tons of CO2 going up. The CO2 will remain in the air. This is a global problem, but it will remain for hundreds, if not thousands of years unless we get rid of it. There's a lot of different talk about how do we can absorb it through, obviously, I think the best way is through tree growth. That's why we're a whole reforestation program. There are other scientists talking about other ways of capturing it, but that may be the best way. We have the nitric oxide problem in our air, so you can take a look at the air quality index from the EPA. But we need to remove a lot more nitrogen, not just because of what it gets into the waters and causes the increased growth, but also just the air itself. People who live near Baltimore, it affects minorities on much higher rate because they live closer to places like the cities, which the air quality is not as good. The smog from the cars. The cars are releasing tons of these some carbon monoxide, other gases released, the nitrogen, etc. And that's causing you see the smog because it's trapped. There's O3, ozone, O3, which is a big problem, which is the biggest problem for our air, but also nitrogen. We have things called the HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons, which are used in air conditioners and refrigerators today. There was a meeting in Kigali, Rwanda, where they decided, the nations that unfortunately Trump took us out of that agreement, but we're talking about removing all of those HFCs and using other forms. So if you throw away your air conditioner or refrigerator, those chemicals seep in and they have a huge
I'm
amount
sorry,
effect
let me cut you.
on the
Yeah,
environment
I did not get
in the air.
the last one. If you
Yeah.
could repeat, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so
What
what we
you
need to,
mentioned the
the nitric
HFC.
oxide, the nitric in the air causes pollution. So, unfortunately, here in the 39th district, our air is pretty good, but we have to be concerned about all of Maryland, including near D.C. and in Baltimore,
Everybody.
which affects minorities more. The air near those plants is just, it can be dangerous, can cause cancer. Let's be honest, it can cause cancer. The agriculture, we didn't talk about this last time. The reforestation is key because it captures carbon dioxide. So it's one of the best ways. If we can plant trees everywhere, we give people incentives by paying them when they plant trees on unused farmland. So hopefully we can replant, and they need to use native trees. There's a big thing about foreign trees that are not native to this land. If you try to grow a tree that grows in Canada, like the evergreens here, it doesn't work. It starts swallowing up the roots. We talked about this on the Forest Conservation Committee. It, uh, it, it ruins the situation for the plants like the deciduous that grow here regularly. When cover crops are amazing. So after the season, if planters are incentivized to grow cover crops, it's more expensive because they have to grow again in after the harvest. Those cover crops not only protect the soil, release the nutrients when you cut them, and so they'll hold in all of those nutrients from the year. Because right now, if you don't, the erosion occurs where the soil just becomes dead like sand. But when after the season, and it's being done very well. That's one of the things Hogan did well to promote the cover crops, and a lot of farmers are doing it. They know it's worthwhile. They get paid to do it. There's an incentive program. They grow them and then they cut them down at the end of the season. Some of them can even use those cover crops for food for the animals. So for farmland that's actually being farmed, cover crops are great. You keep it on all winter. It protects and ensures the integrity of the soil and the nutrients. And so that's mainly with the agriculture. We've got a lot to do there. And then we talk about the water.
Okay.
You don't may not know this, but we just did a quick EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group, a test of our water here. We come from the WSSE, which is in Potomac. Our water is filtered over there. We have dangerous levels of chromium, haloacetic acid, nitrites, trihalomethanes. All of those are maybe past the EPA guidelines, but they don't pass the working group recommendations, and they can cause cancer. So our water, even if you use a carbon filter, it doesn't work. So you'd have to use reverse osmosis or something, or use filtered water, spring water. But even spring water, they're talking about those springs near Pennsylvania. You have to check where it comes from. It could be near a fracking location. Fracking.
So what do you think the eradicate that? Excuse me. What do you think the state can do to eradicate that issue?
Great problem. So at this point, it's going to be very hard because these filter locations that clean that get our water ready for our tap water, they're located. They're already, they have chlorine going in. Fluoride is put in our water. Fluoride actually is a toxin. You can wash with acid in the night and clean your teeth. Have enough fluoride for your teeth. You shouldn't be drinking it. It goes into your pineal gland. It can have dangerous effects on your bones. It's a toxin, so we need to think about getting rid of that. I don't know. We decided as a country years ago to put it in, but it's very dangerous. So we'd have to actually re-engineer our water filtration systems. The Patuxent for us, it's the WSSC in Potomac, off the Potomac River. But we'd have to completely re-engineer to get rid of all these chemicals. It can be done reverse osmosis. And it just will take a lot of money. So we need to talk about that because we could be killing people with cancer.
Okay,
I mean, it's terrible, but it's true.
I have one more question,
Yeah.
sir, before you proceed. Okay. Being able to eliminate the fluoride issue, what exactly are we replacing that with? Because you mentioned filtration. How is that going to be done? I don't understand.
Okay.
Could you?
The truth is, we don't. The fluoride is not in the natural water. We add it because it strengthens teeth. Now, teeth. It is true. It's good to protect the enamel, especially of the young. But it's dangerous when you drink it, and it goes into your body. It will calcify your pineal gland. That can have all sorts of spiritual effects, they say. But the main thing is we can just remove it. We're spending money to put it in. It's actually being sold to us by chemical companies. It's a byproduct of some sort of phosphate procedure. So what can we do instead? We can buy Act online. You can buy it at CVS for $3. Swish it in the nighttime for make sure kids take their fluoride and don't drink it. And that's simple. But the other chemicals are there. We'd have to re-engineer the whole water filtration. Now, in terms of food, I wanted to speak quickly about the issue of food. We basically have farmed most of the globe's fisheries. The wild fish is gone, and we're all eating these farmed fish. Now, farmed fish, they sit in a little area in the water, and they're all spreading diseases to each other. There's up to 10 to 20% of salmon, for instance, that is poison. They have to throw it away. Now, we don't know what the effect is on the other salmon. There's chemicals. They wash fish through highly toxic chemicals to kill lice. We're all eating this fish. All the fish may have high levels of mercury and other contaminants because we've overfished the natural. We need to, the Chesapeake Bay used to be full of fresh fish, healthy fish. We need to restore that completely. The fish farming is dangerous, and eating fish could be dangerous. So that's a major, major issue, especially for Maryland. And once we remove all of these chemicals that are going into the bay and restore its health, we can restore the marine life and then our healthy fish. And then we have to realize that a lot of the farmland in Maryland is growing soy. What is the point of soy? Most of the soy is going to feed animals. We're cutting down all these trees. We're farming all the soy land, and it became very profitable for farmers to feed the cows and the chickens. Well, I want to say something radical right now is that Marylanders should consider taking a few days each week to be vegan. Maybe two, maybe five, as much as you can, because when we reduce the consumption of these animals, cows create tons of methane burping, and then during the procedures of processing chickens as well, and then the phosphorus and nitrogen. So we're using tons of farmland in other areas of the country in our state to feed these cows and animals. So we have to realize that, and a lot of them are being thrown away. People take meat and chicken and they throw it away. Can you believe it? All of that work, all of that CO2 and all the chemicals and the methane to destroy all that, and we just have a barbecue and we just throw it away. So I'm not saying just completely get off meat. That's a personal choice. But if we as a state decide we're going to slow down on our consumption of meat, and maybe some of the fast food industry will will change the menus, that will have a dramatic effect on the environment, the gas, the water, the air, the land, and our future, and literally our how long we live. Finally, we'll talk about cars. Cars are a major source of um, dangerous air quality, chemicals in the air, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide. So good news is a lot of companies already have moved towards hybrid, but even like the car I drive, the nice Nissan Rogue, gets almost over 30 miles per gallon. So they've increased with the types of engines that they use are more efficient. But if we can all think about hybrid or electric, the problem with electric is the Teslas and all those. Where's that electricity coming from? If it's coming from coal over here, the Dickerson plant. Luckily, we have the Dickerson plant nearby. They just last summer they closed down three of the coal stacks. We were having coal right here, extremely dangerous toxins, coal being blown up into our air right here from Dixon for who knows tens of years. Finally, they removed that. They're still using natural gas. But what if all of your electricity is coming from the coal from other states like West Virginia? What's the point? Maybe it's not even as efficient as gas cars. So we need to really think about all of the issues, not just going electric. And I mean, the carbon credits that have run out, we need to consider helping people buy those cars because they're more expensive. Like people are not buying the hybrid Hondas, etc. Because I worked in the car business for many years. They're not buying; they're just too expensive. And but now gas versus the cost might be different. So the last thing we're talking about the energy. You wanted to ask me about energy.
Okay. What is it that you so interested in the energy in the state? Could you explain more?
Yes, so energy, we just talked about where is our electricity coming from. Energy creates our electricity that runs all of our systems in our homes and our factories and our lights and et cetera. And right now we're using an excessive amount from natural gas, dirty energy sources, petroleum, natural gas, coal. Coal is the worst, creates the most amount of chemicals. We have been able to scrub some of the sulfur dioxide, but it's very, very dangerous to our health and the long term. Also, the CO2, greenhouse gases, we're heating up. All these greenhouse gases stay in the atmosphere, they don't really leave. And they're heating up the whole world, and including our country, which is some of the reasons for all of these extreme weather patterns. So we need to remove that. So solar energy is great because it's renewable, but what happens to those solar panels? A lot of them are going to Africa and other places, and they're also polluting the environment. People don't know that. Wind, we're creating right now a number of wind farms off of the eastern shore, which is nice. Geothermal, so we can take energy from under the heat from under the ground, which is renewable and clean. Biomass is, I'm not sure it's so great. You're taking farmed products, food, and using that for energy. Maybe the manure and the methane, they're talking about creating energy from that. That might be more clean. And hydro is great. It's just the water coming down, like in the Conowingo Dam. The problem is that the dams cut off the fishery environment. Salmon can't go back. A lot of fish need to go back up to to spawn. They also have the issue of are they blocking the phosphorus and nitrogen and sediments? So some of it right now, the Conowingo Dam has become so filled up underneath. It used to have a big reservoir, an area to store the sediment, but now that's full. So now the water is going over with all of these contaminants. And then the big issue is nuclear. Nuclear energy, according to the Green Party, is not good because it's not renewable. It creates dangerous waste. But we believe, and this party is going to say, this campaign believes nuclear is clean, extremely efficient, 92 to 95% capacity factor. So it's the most powerful per amount that creates extreme amount. We have the Calvert Cliffs facility. We're already talking about expanding that by 50% or more. It generates 41% of Maryland's internal electricity. What if we thought about creating another one? I mean, we know how to build safe nuclear plants. People are afraid of Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and things. What if we can do it safely? We believe we can. We know the science, we can do it. Nuclear power is incredible, and little waste, zero emissions. So these are things. And we can become self-sufficient. Why should we pay all this money to Exelon and all these companies based in Texas, large energy companies? Maybe Maryland should take over our own. I know it sounds communist socialist. People are afraid, but if we can do it just as well, create thousands of jobs, keep all of that money, then the generating of the energy inside Maryland citizens, it could be a huge economic boost for us. We're already doing it. So these are the things I wanted to talk about today. And thank you so much. Any other questions?
That's just it, Mr. Moshe. Thank you for your time, sir. Hope to see you next time. You mentioned, what are you going to be talking about next time, if you don't mind mentioning?
Most likely, we're going to talk about housing, poverty, housing, and what we can do to improve the situation in the city, especially the cities. And here in our area, um, in terms of as people have struggled due to COVID, paying their mortgages, etc., what we can do.
Okay, I'll see you then next time. Thank you so much,